Today my video is going to be on other mental health issues alongside eating disorders in recovery. A lot of people who have eating disorders also have other mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, issues with self-harm, borderline personality disorder, bipolar, anything. There's all different types of other mental disorders that can come along with eating disorders. Now, some of these can be separate issues entirely. So, for example, you may have had depression before your eating disorder or anxiety before your eating disorder, etc. Or they may have come along with your eating disorder. So it's kind of a difficult one because during recovery, actually addressing the eating disorder may help address the other issues as well. For example, anxiety might dissipate as you get further and further into recovery. It may just end up healing with the eating disorder. It could have been something that's brought on by the eating disorder, but it may be an entirely separate issue that needs to be treated separately from the eating disorder. And a lot of people will also find that their other mental health issues get worse in recovery when it's a separate issue, because eating disorders can sometimes be used as a coping mechanism to suppress other mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, etc. And then these may get worse when you're actually recovering. This means that they will need to be treated separately. Sometimes they can be treated together, other times it's up to you to choose which one is the most life-affecting and deal with that one first. And I would assume that the eating disorder would come first because that doesn't just affect your mental health, it affects physical as well, so I would put that as a top priority. Things like self-harm. I feel like a lot of the time self-harm comes with eating disorders. Self-harm might have started before your eating disorder and it may continue after, but a lot of the time self-harm either comes with an eating disorder or it gets a lot worse during an eating disorder. That could be because you're managing anxiety and low mood through self-harm, or it could be self-punishing behaviour. But I know for myself personally, self-harm got really bad when my eating disorder got bad. So the worse my eating disorder got, the worse my self-harm got. That was definitely a facet of the eating disorder that it made it worse. I did self-harm before having an eating disorder, but since reaching remission, I have not self-harmed. That tells me a lot. I think with self-harm, a lot of the time as you get older, it decreases. But I also think that with an eating disorder, it increases. And for some people, even into adulthood, it doesn't decrease. There's lots of different experiences of self-harm. During recovery, I think self-harm can get worse or remain as bad as it was during your eating disorder for quite a while, just because recovery from an eating disorder is highly stressful, it's highly anxiety provoking and induces a lot of negative emotions and thoughts and feelings towards yourself and your body, and just it's very chaotic emotionally, and so self-harm doesn't usually improve for a while. I found that self-harm was used to manage the negative both during my eating disorder and in recovery. I feel for a lot of people that will probably happen as well. I don't think that self-harm should be worried about too much unless you are self-harming to the point that you're needing stitches or you're needing hospitalisation. If the cuts are superficial and it's helping you deal with the negativity that's coming with recovery, I feel that it will probably improve as your recovery improves. If you don't feel like this is going to be the case, then do seek help for it, and if you have a therapist or doctor, you should be talking about it anyway. But as long as it's not life-threatening, I feel that it will probably improve with time, and it's more your recovery that you need to focus on, and the self-harm is probably linked to it and will sort itself out, or at least decrease quite a lot when you reach remission. That's not to say don't seek help for it or don't talk about it, because it's always good to talk about all the problems. If it is linked to your eating disorder, I think you'll probably be okay. But if you don't feel like you are, then please do obviously state that to somebody. As for other stuff like depression and anxiety, as I said, it may be recovery that's causing negative emotions like anxiety and low mood, but it could be that your eating disorder covered up for your depression, anxiety and other issues. So it's kind of a tricky one to establish what the connection is between recovery and other mental health issues. You would have to talk to your doctor and therapist to work through it and see where you are and how you would go about resolving it. Because as I said, recovery might resolve it, or it might be that recovery has actually brought it to the forefront and it needs to be resolved as a separate issue. There isn't really anything else to say about that topic. Basically make sure that you are asking for support when you need it, that you are receiving the correct support, and that you have a good team and a good support network around you for dealing with both recovery and other mental health issues. Just make sure you have people around you that you can talk to, and a professional team if you can. If you are able to afford or can get it on your insurance, then do have as many people really in place that can help you. The more people the better, as long as obviously they're the right kind of people, that they are supporting you and giving you the help that you need. It's difficult, it's very difficult to have lots of mental issues. It's difficult just to have one, but it is possible to work through and overcome and manage all of them. It's a very difficult task, but it is possible, and you must always keep hoping and have determination that your issues can be resolved, or at least managed. It is possible by medication, therapy, recovery, support and encouragement from positive people in your life. This was a requested video, so I hope that helped answer the question of the person who wanted this video done. I hope that everybody is doing well. I hope that everybody is being able to challenge their eating disorders and move forward in their recovery, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful Thursday. I will speak to you next week.